What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up, y'all? This is Koski and Fun Day. I'm back at it once again, dropping this knowledge. You know what I'm saying? First of all, I gotta thank my ancestors. I would do almost every video. And second, most important, not no least in average things, but I gotta thank y'all for watching. This one comes from the Atlantic Star. In Israel to improve immigration for 1,000 Ethiopian Jews, another 7,000 remaining. This came out September 18, 2018. Jerusalem. The Israeli government announced Monday that it agreed to absorb 1,000 Ethiopian Jews, accepting just a fraction of the African country's 8,000 remaining Jews who want to move to Israel. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said that a special committee had agreed to allow the community members who already have children in Israel to immigrate. It was not clear what happened to the remaining 7,000 people. I just see the community right there, the Falashmura community, in Ethiopia. Alice Boner, a spokesperson for the struggle of Ethiopia Aliyah, a group petitioned the government to allow Ethiopian Jews to migrate, called Netanyahu's decision an incredible disappointment and another spit in the face for Israel's Ethiopian community. Citing his previous vow, the group is calling on the Prime Minister to provide a path to citizenship for the remaining 7,000 members of the Jewish Ethiopian community. Many of the 8,000 are practicing Jews and have relatives in Israel. But Israel does not consider them Jewish under strict religious law, meaning their immigration requires special approval. The 8,000 are descendants of Ethiopian Jews who were forcibly converted to Christianity around a century ago. And the Israeli government views of bringing them to Israel as a family of unification, or rather than Aliyah or Jewish immigration. Israel agreed in 2015 to bring the remaining Ethiopians to Israel, but has not authorized funding for their move. The families allege discrimination. Arvan Ninagis, an Ethiopian Israeli lawmaker and a member of the special committee, said that while he welcomes the government decision, he was disappointed this issue has not yet been resolved. We won't cease in our mission, our struggle, until everyone is united with their family here in Israel, he says. Nagy said the committee did not plan to discuss the remaining 7,000 Ethiopian Jews on in Monday's meeting. Israel is a home of approximately 144,000, great number, Jews of Ethiopian descent, the majority of whom migrated to Israel in the 1980s and the 1990s. Last year, Israel approved migration for 1,300 Ethiopians whose relatives already migrated here. But their assimilation into Israel's society has not been smooth. While arriving without a formal education, they fall into unemployment and poverty. Ethiopian Jews have also protested in many years against perceived discrimination in Israeli society. Let's look at one more. We're going to combine these two. Let's look at one more. This is, what I'm saying, just to show you how they treat you worldwide, how they treat us worldwide. This one comes from June. This one is from the Atlantic Star again. Israel refused officially to recognize 2,000 Ugandan Jews who as Jewish and who has the right to decide. Who has that right to decide? Question mark. All right, the Israeli, see these guys right here, The Israeli government has rejected a request form of the Ugandan community of Jews to migrate to the country and refused to recognize the group as Jews. This recognition of African Jews raises issues of racism against black people in Israel. There are criteria for being accepted as a Jew and who decides. The Israeli Interior Minister rejected a request for recognition by a member of the Abula Dada community whose 2,000 members live in Uganda, as Hertz report. Kabli Yosef, who filed the application, has been living in Israel as a kibbutz affiliate with the conservative movement for the past year. The Abula, who has been practicing Judaism for a century, were officially converted to Judaism by the conservative movement, one of the major denominations of Judaism, only in recent years. Under Israel laws of return, anyone who is married a Jew, has Jewish grandparents, or has been converted to Judaism are allowed to migrate to Israel if they come as from a recognized Jewish community. The Jewish Agency for Israel recognized the Avodah as Jewish, but the ministry is the final arbiter of such matters does not. The ministry said Yosef must leave the country by June 14th or he faces deportation. The conservative movement condemned such decision, with Rabbi Julie Sonnenfeld, who leads his International Rabbinical Assembly, saying they are shocked and extremely outraged at the unlawful decision. This is completely inconsistent with 2 or more decades of Israel practices of conservative converts, who are, by the way, Hanukkahically in accordance with Jewish law. Converts to Judaism are suspicious, who have been recognized as Jewish for the purposes of the law of return, she said, adding that the decision jeopardized the future conversions in Israel, not only of conservative converts, but Reform and Orthodox as well. The Orthodox chief rabbinate controls Jewish conversions, marriage, divorce, and burial in Israel, but not immigration matters. Nearly 1 million people who immigrated from Israel from the former Soviet Union were eligible as Jews under the law of return. Let me read this one more time. Nearly 1 million people who immigrated to Israel from the former Soviet Union were eligible as Jews under the law of return and became Israeli citizens, accounting for 15% of the Israel population. Yet, 1/4 were not considered Jewish under Jewish law, which requires that one be born to a Jewish mother or undergo Orthodox conversion. Israel citizens of Palestinian Arab descent are second or third class citizens because they're not Jewish and the law of return does not apply to them. Meanwhile, Palestinians living under military occupation without self-determination in their own states are non-citizens and suffer from racial segregation, discrimination, and brutality, and Palestinian refugees who are removed from their lands are unable to return. Even Palestinians married to Israelis are barred from living in Israel and becoming citizens. Damn. This week, the Israeli Knesset blocked legislation whose purpose was to define Israel as a democratic and multicultural state that guarantees complete civil, cultural, and national equality for all its citizens, Jews or Arab. The difficulties Ugandan Jews have faced in migrating to Israel have carried with them the accusations of anti-black racism. Last December, a member of the Jewish community in Kenya who arrived in Israel to study conservative yeshiva in Jerusalem was detained at the airport and deported to Ethiopia. In addition, the Ministry of Interior has taken advantage of the technically and denying visa requests to study on immigrants to Israel from Ugandan Jews who had converted before 2009. That is, before the Abla was recognized as a Jewish community. It will appear that a combination of racial prejudice and bias against a non-Orthodox conversion and a failure to issue a timely decision as demanded by the criteria of the Interior Minister, and a structure where the responsibility to resolve the issue relating to immigration and issuing a student visa is passed from one person to the next, has sadly left these Jews seeking to live and study in Israel in limbo. Rabbi Andy Stacks, director of the Rabbinical Assembly of Conservative Movement in Israel, and the conservative movement will petition Israel High Court of Justice and the nation's version of the Supreme Court. Ethiopian Israelis who are Jewish and African immigrants and who are not facing systematic racial discrimination in Israel. Although they are an ancient population, Ethiopian Jews find their Jewishness questioned and typically get racial stereotype as lazy and facing poverty and discrimination in housing, education, and unemployment. These black Israelis protest against police brutality they experienced, including the case of an Israeli soldier of Ethiopian descent who was beaten by the police. Israeli health officials subjugate Ethiopian immigrants, women, to the contraceptive Depo-Provera without their consent. It is an alleged attempt to lower the black birth rate. Damn. The immigration of thousands of Ethiopians to Israel has been delayed amidst charges of racism, and the Ethiopian Jews in Abu Basam threatened a hunger strike if they denied reunification with their families in Israel. On March, one of Israel's chief rabbis called black people monkeys and African migrants and asylum seekers fleeing countries such as Eritrea and the Sudan as infiltrators who threaten the identity of the Jewish state. The government prime minister Benjamin Netanyahu has regarded Africans as a greater threat than terrorists who touts Israel's wall, because the Jews got a wall on the Egyptian border, as keeping them out, gave thousands of African infiltrators a choice of leaving the country or face indefinite imprisonment. Indefinite imprisonment. That means when they catch you, they ain't letting you go. That's slavery, baby. One dick A. It is in the context of that Jews of African heritage may not be regarded as Jews in Israel, or perhaps not as Jewish as others. So there you have it. You know, they putting black people back in slavery in Israel because they say you don't leave the country, we're going to definitely imprison you. You know, Benjamin Netanyahu, who we all know is a liar on the world, still worldwide, one of the greatest liars in the world. You know what I'm saying? Regarding Africans as a threat greater than terrorists. And touts Israel's wall with the Egyptian border as keeping them out and giving thousands of infiltrators a choice. So, you know, hey, nobody, you know, your Democratic leadership in the United States, they Jewish and shit like that. They don't want a wall, but in they homeland where they got conservative, they got dual citizenship, they got a wall up. So I tell you the hypocrisy of these cats. They gave women, Ethiopian immigrant women, contraceptive Depo-Provera without their consent, an alleged attempt to lower the black birth rate. Let's see what else they go through. They get beat up by the police. You know, Israel soldier beat by the police. That's crazy, you know. And they know that ancient population. The Ethiopian Jews is probably ancient than the real Jews, than these phony ones right here. For sure they is really the Caucasians. A Russian come through with no difficulties as stated. Let me go back through. Even a Palestinian married to Israelis is barred from living in Israel and becoming citizens. So even if you marry one, you still become a citizen. You just messed up under the law. You know what I'm saying? This is how the gang goes. But that's crazy though. All the Russians get to go. Russian Jews, the Caucasians from the Ukraine, all over the place. They get to come on back to their land, and they ain't their land. The land they stole. Let's keep it 100, and keep the real inhabitants, the African Jews, up out of there by sterilization. Sound familiar? Planned Parenthood. You know what I'm saying? Police brutality. You know. And all those type of things of that nature. The same stuff they go through in Israel is the same. The African stuff go to Israel is the same stuff we go through here. You know what I'm saying? So being under that beast. Anyway, we gonna bring this stuff back because you know what I'm saying. We gonna take all this stuff back that belong to us. But we just gonna let the people know what it is first. We have no friends, like Dr. John Henry Clark said. No friends, no allies. You want a friend? Look in the mirror. This is Akoski of Fun Day saying peace. I'm out of here, and we're going to come back here and we're dropping more knowledge on these videos. Have a good one.